Andy, great for joining us today. It's really great to have you and Johnny on this call. Andy, can you just give us a little bit of background? Tell us about your experience in the rolling stock industry.
I first started in about 1994. Started with a company called ABB back then, who then later changed to Bombardier. I've worked in London and Germany and back again in this country, around the southeast of England. Initially providing support to new rolling stock, and then later on consultancy support to various manufacturers and people within the rolling stock industry.
And within that, I know that you've got great experience in the industry, but how did you first become aware of ExcelWraps, and what was the actual problem that you were having?
The first time I had experience of ExcelWraps was a conversation with John, because we were talking, I think, about how to weigh a vehicle, and John had developed like an Excel app to weigh the vehicle, and we were saying how good it was. It seemed to be working, but wouldn't it be better if it was like an online form rather than an Excel file that you then had to share with lots of people all the time and continually update? At the same time, I had a problem where I was working on an overhaul project, and we had a vast amount of paperwork to fill in for every train going through. There's about 300 pages of paperwork that we needed to fill in. And everybody was getting a bit fed up with it and thinking, is there not a smarter way of doing this? And then those two conversations came together, and that's how we thought of the idea that might be worth trying it out, see how it worked.
Andy, that's great. I mean, you were describing the problem there, but in terms of that, what has the ExcelWraps solution done for you? What have been the benefits of it?
The benefits are that you can make your own form. You can do what you want with it. You can make it as clever or as dumb as you like, and it just needs to record certain data that you're particularly interested in, whether it be something what seems pretty mundane, like serial numbers going in and out of a vehicle, or measurements, or recording, I don't know, imagery that you take throughout a vehicle's overhaul. You can do that, and you can do it yourself. You don't need to be a coder. You can do it really, really easily. You can test it immediately, see if it works, and within a short space of time, you're up and running, really.
Johnny, talk me through the steps in terms of the sort of first conversations and then how ExcelWraps became the solution.
The starting point of all this was actually a piece of engineering consultancy. So Andy's an electrical engineer. I'm very good at electrical kind of problems, and I'm a mechanical engineer. So there was an issue to do with the vehicle suspension setup, and I could think about that and help to optimize a process. And it was really a piece of engineering analysis. But I've also got a great interest in Excel, and it was really bringing those two things together to deliver a solution using Excel-based technology. And the two things kind of came together simultaneously. So I had been delivering results and information on Excel files. These had got corrupted or lost, or we got the wrong version and all that kind of thing. So really what was required was a way of managing this information in a better way. So that's really where the kind of server-based operations around these web applications was created.
Johnny, in terms of that, you talk about web applications. So, and also chatting to Andy as well, it seems there were a lot of processes, a lot of paperwork. So how does the web application actually work, and how much can you actually put into the system?
Well, I guess in the old days, what people would do is they would design their forms, probably using Excel, and send it to the printer. And a great batch of paperwork is sent out with the particular piece of equipment you're going to overhaul, and it was for the depot staff to fill those pieces of paper in. So really we're not doing anything very much different, but instead of sending things to the printer, we send Excel documents to our web converter. So we convert the Excel file into a web application. And as soon as we mobilize this through a website, then we can automatically collect all the data that's been filled into those electronic forms, can be now stored in a large cloud-based database. So suddenly we've got all the information in an organized manner in a large enterprise-wide database. So data is easy to find and looking over records becomes trivial.
Johnny, talking there about users, I mean, you have thousands of users using the ExcelWraps. So in terms of that, how seamless is the transition in a depot to be able to put this in?
I've been quite surprised actually, because I would say that the thing that I didn't see, I thought there might be a lot of resistance from depot staff to say, oh my goodness, computers, I'd rather stay with my paper. But actually they embraced the computer and were very happy to lose the paper, because everybody's run around trying to find a piece of paper, but nobody runs around trying to find electronic forms because they're searchable on a computer system. So we didn't really have any problems at all. And we did anticipate them. We were actually bracing ourselves for, oh my goodness, what's the reaction going to be to this? You know, it was really embraced, I would say. So that was a very positive reaction, I would say.
Andy, from a user's perspective, what have you found in terms of the ease of using ExcelWraps and the benefits associated with it?
So I think really it's all down to how the form is designed by the designer. So in that case, it was me doing it for some of Hitachi's work. So I very much took the way that it should be done like a normal bit of paper, and you should be able to fill out the form on the web as simply as you could do it on paper. That way people wouldn't feel that they're touching a computer and they feel like they're going to mess something up, which I think is the biggest fear with people. Also, you have to sort of think about what sort of device it's going to be on. We chose a fairly standard tablet to use, and that worked quite well. And there wasn't really any resistance at all once you give people a little bit of training and saying what they have to do, how they use it, and also give them the benefit of what they can see from it and how to search from it. Then they get the advantage of it and they never want to use paper again, because paper is okay, it has its place, but it can get lost, it can get dirty in this industry as well, so it can be difficult to read. This way you don't have any problem with people entering a 3 when it should have been an 8 or something like that.
In terms of any software that's brought into any kind of organisation, there's always a question of the return on investment. What do you see as the return on investment on installing ExcelWraps?
From what I see is that there's no real software to be installed as such, which is great. It's easy for the person in the depot to design their own form, so you don't have to pay someone else to do it, which is good because it means you're in control of it. Also, if you want to search for certain elements of data within that form, you can do, and you can do that really quickly and easily. You can also pull off loads of data and then import them into other systems, if for like serial number control and for something like that. Also, if you want to pull reports on the information that you've been gaining through the use of ExcelWraps, you can do that too. And that's really easily done too. All of these things in the past, if you're using another system, you may need to bring in a coder to help you to design the report. Or even if you think about using another system, like another sort of famous database system, they can sometimes put people off, but this isn't like that. It's a lot easier to use.
Johnny, just coming back to you in terms of that, how easy is it for different depots within the same organisation to actually be able to share data?
Each depot is classically set up as a different work group. So they're all working the same website, but they're set up within different work groups. And in fact, you can limit the amount of information people see through work group permissions, as well as role-based permissions. So that's how we decide who gets to see what, because we don't want to supply too much information when people log into a system. You only want to see the bit that you're interested in. And we use the kind of work group breakdown, and we use the user role settings that we have to make sure that you see the information that's relevant to you, and all the stuff that isn't relevant to you is hidden away. So we try to keep by looking at the organisation, how it's structured, we mirror that with work groups, and that seems to work quite well.
Johnny, what is your approach when you're implementing a solution for a new customer?
My approach, because of my background, because I'm an engineer, is very engineering centric. So what I know about engineering is that there are lots of complex systems around, and there's a lot of detail and history associated with all these technologies. And the best people to kind of put a solution together are people that understand the systems well, and how the equipment actually operates and what potential downfalls there are. So I think what we can do with ExcelWraps is, by mobilizing those people, by giving them a simple tool to write, they can do it themselves. The other way of doing it, the traditional way, would be for those people to talk to a software engineer, and everything gets lost in translation, and you don't quite get back the piece of software that you actually need. And the other thing I've noticed, Phil, is engineers always change their minds. So they'll always have another idea. They'll always say, I wonder if we did it this way, is it any better? So the solution can't be a rigid one-time solution. It has to be a solution that can change and evolve and move with the engineering process. And nothing static in engineering, everything moves forward.
Andy, you've given us great insight from the user experience, but what have you found in terms of ExcelWraps, in terms of the support and everything else that they give you?
Yeah, it's very easy. If you have a problem with the system that you're developing, it might be down, even if it's down to your lack of understanding of how Excel works, or it could be something more about their application. You can ask John and his team to help you, and they'll see you through it. Sometimes these problems aren't so massive, but you can sit there, or you're in danger of sitting there for a long time trying to work it out for yourself. But you can just phone up John and his team, and they'll give you a hand. It's sort of rolling it out across different sites. It's actually not too bad, as long as you invest the time with the site and tell them what's coming. Don't just phone them up and just say, from tomorrow you're going to be using this, and there's your login and happy days. It's not like that. If you invest a little bit of time, and I'm only talking a couple of hours or something, just to run over with people how it works. We did actually run training sessions for one supplier, and they worked really well. And I think that really helped, because then they weren't afraid of the system when it came.
Johnny, a lot of the time when people talk about software in any organisation, suddenly people's automatic reaction is going to cost hundreds of thousands of pounds to implement a system. But that certainly isn't the case with ExcelWraps, is it?
No, we've got a different approach to software. So it isn't stand by your beds and wait for the big solution to arrive. It's a kind of, everything's available, and you can dip your toe in for one solution. So in fact, in Andy's case, the one solution that was selected was this suspension problem. Now, we dipped our toe in, we gave a solution, and the benefits of that solution were clear, both in terms of productivity that was achieved on the shop floor from using that expert knowledge, I suppose, by knowing if you tweak this, this will happen, that kind of technology. That all came through the RAP system. But from that, from the success of that, really, we rolled out into other areas of the overhaul. So we don't just touch the suspension system. There's the whole running gear. The bogie overhaul was the next thing that we took on. Then after the bogie overhaul, we then took on the vehicle overhaul, which covers everything from doors to seats to pantographs to fan and ventilation. So I'm pretty much right in saying, I think, Andy, that now everything on the 395 overhaul is contained by RAPs.
Yeah, that's right. Everything that you could possibly do by paper, we've now put onto a RAP. So that includes all of the vehicle elements, not just the bogie elements. It makes life a lot easier, and there's no paperwork in sight anymore.
I mean, that's great to hear both of you talk about that as well. But Johnny, I know one of the key things that you do is, your conviction in your product, which is amazing, is you also give people the option to try before they buy.
Yeah, I mean, Anybody involved in rolling stock can approach us at any time, and we'll give them access to our trial site so they can run out one of their own solutions. Obviously, we do that work in the hope that they will buy their own wrap site and move the solution from our trial site onto their own site. And generally, that's the kind of sales process. So there's no pressure tactics. We want to show you that you can get a benefit. And once you've proven that to yourselves, then it's a case of rolling it out and expanding into different areas of the business.
Andy, you've been working with ExcelWraps now since 2014. What changes have you seen over that time?
There's a lot more tools that have come out that you can use, which makes life a lot easier. So back in the day, if you wanted a certain function, you might have got around it using Excel formulas, but now what John and his team will have done is they've made that into one of their own functions. So it makes it a little bit easier for you to use. Also, one of the biggest things I've noticed is that back in the day when you're developing an overhaul solution is that you would have wraps for bespoke jobs, which was great for one overhaul, and you just rolled them out for every train that came through, and it was very easy. But when you're changing from one overhaul to the other, it involved a little bit of maintenance and changing over of certain numbers. But now that's gone out the window because there's new functionality in there, which means that you can set up not just one overhaul, but future overhauls too. So just by setting out one form, you can say whether a task is relevant to this overhaul, the next one, not the next one, but then the one after that. And you can set all of that up, meaning that when you set up the overhaul, all of your tasks automatically appear.
John, I mean, that's great to hear Andy say those things. And, you know, the ExcelWrap solution is used by over 50% of rolling stock within the UK. But can you let us into any little things that are up on the horizon that are going to make it even bigger and better?
We're always looking for ways to make it bigger and better. That's kind of what makes us tick, really. So, and I think because we are engineering focused, we're not just bringing a benefit for the sake of a benefit. We're bringing a benefit to one of our clients because we know it's going to benefit another one of our clients. So because we're totally focused on the problems with rolling stock, that's our mindset, that's our universe. And we bring the features that all rolling stock companies could benefit from.